a body temperature climbing past 103 degrees. 2 consecutive nights of it. A professional golfer openly admitting his own head did not feel properly connected to his body. And somehow, through all of that, a runner-up finish. That was Rickie Fowler competing at the 2026 Tour Championship, and the genuine explanation behind that performance remained completely hidden from the public for 3 additional months afterward. Back in May of 2026, Fowler showed up at Quail Hollow already fighting something. On the Tuesday and Wednesday nights before the tournament, his fever climbed toward 103 degrees, and he did not hide it when reporters asked how he was feeling. He called it a sinus infection that had flared up early in the week, and he said plainly that he felt loopy, like his head was not sitting right on his shoulders. He said he tried to push through the worst of it as best he could. Before he even trusted himself to sink a short putt, Fowler was openly unsure his body would cooperate. That is about as basic as it gets in professional golf, and he was a 6-time PGA Tour winner questioning whether he could manage it. He teed it up anyway, and walked away with a tie for second at Quail Hollow, one of his best results of the entire season, produced while running a serious fever and doubting the simplest shot in the game. And Quail Hollow was not a one-time thing. Word started spreading that Fowler had similar flare-ups in May and June, including during his week at Muirfield Village. In one interview with broadcaster Robert Dameron before a final round, his voice sounded noticeably rougher than usual. People noticed it at the time, but nobody explained it. Fans began connecting the dots, wondering if his missed cuts at the Memorial Tournament, the Charles Schwab Challenge, and the US Open all trace back to his health. But that theory stayed just a theory, because Fowler himself never said a word about any ongoing illness. The real answer finally came on August 2nd, 2026, and it did not come from Fowler at all. PGA Tour broadcaster Doug Bell was reporting live from the Rocket Classic in Detroit when he dropped the news on CBS Sports HQ. He revealed that Fowler had actually been battling a severe sinus infection for over 2 years, and that surgery was now the only option left once the season wrapped up. According to Bell, every antibiotic and every medication had already been tried without success, meaning an operation was unavoidable. Bell added that Fowler was not exactly looking forward to it, and that the condition had genuinely been holding him back in ways almost nobody outside his circle understood. That report quickly spread across every major golf media outlet, and it landed with genuine weight once you actually consider the surrounding calendar and timing involved. The PGA Tour season officially ends once the FedEx Cup Playoffs wrap up later in August. That means Fowler has been grinding through the most important stretch of his entire year, knowing a surgery was already scheduled the moment it ended. 2+ years of failed treatments, and he kept competing anyway. To this day, Fowler has not personally addressed his health beyond that brief comment about the fever back at the Travelers Championship. Everything else the public knows has come secondhand, through Doug Bell. And this is not even his first physical setback in recent memory. Through most of 2025, Fowler dealt with ongoing pain in his left shoulder, eventually diagnosed as bursitis with fluid buildup. He managed it with weekly medication for months before it finally required surgery of its own. He bounced back from that operation with a strong showing at the Phoenix Open in early 2026. Now, barely a year later, he is staring down a second consecutive off-season surgery at 37 years old. All of this sits against a frustrating stretch on the course. Fowler is a 6-time PGA Tour champion, but his last win came all the way back at the 2023 Rocket Classic, decided in a tense playoff. 3 winless years later, this health revelation puts that drought in a completely different light. That same Rocket Classic in Detroit this year showed both the promise and the frustration of where his game currently stands. He opened with a blistering 63 to grab the first-round lead, lost it in round 2, then clawed back to 12 under with a 67 on Saturday, landing him tied for third heading into Sunday, 3 shots off Davis Riley. When asked what needed fixing after giving up the lead, Fowler pointed to execution rather than mechanics, saying if his swing were really the problem, he would not be anywhere near contention, and that a few less mistakes down the stretch would put him in a much better spot. Despite the strong position, he ultimately finished tied for 8th at the very course where he won 3 years earlier. There was extra weight to that week too. Title sponsor Rocket Companies has stepped away from the event, meaning this was the final Rocket Classic ever held in Detroit, with a new tournament already set to replace it in Napa, California. Fowler, who had grown close to that event and its fans over the years, admitted it stung to know going in that it was the last one. He also talked about the constant attention from fans wanting photos, saying the day people stop asking is the day he would actually have a problem. From Detroit, everything shifted straight into the FedEx Cup Playoffs, where the top 70 golfers battled to survive. The first event, the FedEx St. Jude Championship in Memphis, ran from August 13th through the 16th, with only the top 50 advancing to the BMW Championship and only the top 30 ultimately reaching the Tour Championship at East Lake. Fowler skipped the final regular season event and still entered the playoffs comfortably inside the cut at number 28, riding 3 straight top 20 finishes and 4 top 10s across 18 starts on the year, making the BMW Championship looked all but certain. Reaching East Lake was a different story entirely, and the number that mattered most was 32, a projection that carried painful history. At the 2025 BMW Championship, Fowler stood inside the top 30 with 5 holes left, only to make back-to-back bogeys and a double bogey that dropped him right back out, finishing at number 32 and ending his playoff run for that year. 12 months later, in 2026, he found himself projected at that exact same number, this time with a surgery already waiting at season's end. Paired with him in the final round at Memphis was Jordan Spieth, fighting his own separate battle to simply survive inside the top 50 after more than 4 winless years and a wrist surgery that had derailed his form. 2 players, 1 group, 2 completely different fights for survival. And no matter how either of their weeks ended, one outcome for Fowler was already locked in. Once the FedEx Cup Playoffs finally come to a close, the medication stops, the antibiotics stop, and the surgery he has been quietly delaying for more than 2 full years finally, unavoidably begins.